Appearing on the Joe Rogan podcast yesterday, Elon Musk gave us a succinct answer as to why it is he bought Twitter. The woke mind virus is destroying civilization. And he breaks it down rather simply. Look at San Francisco and the horrors, human waste all over the streets, crime running rampant, real estate market is out of whack. The city seems to be falling apart. What Elon says is the ideology that destroyed San Francisco normally would be rather niche and isolated geographically in the city, but it was given an information technology weapon, which it then used to spread the virus throughout the world. Now, it's not just Twitter, and I commend Elon Musk for buying the platform, trying to fix it, and I think he's working very hard to do so. But it's also a bunch of other platforms. It's Facebook, it's YouTube, it's TikTok. It is social media in general. Now, if you take a look at San Francisco, you can see how the ideas of San Francisco, which don't work, are seeping out into various parts of this country and other parts of the world and destroying these cities. I mean, seriously, look at crime. Look at the smash and grabs. It's crazy. But if a tool of a city is, I should say, an ideology of a city is given a tool, then the ideology of that city spreads rapidly, then we need to look at other social media platforms and where they're headquartered, notably TikTok. Because the big story now, as we see these crazy videos of pro-Hamas protesters, I am not saying pro-Palestine, I'm drawing a distinction. Pro-Hamas protesters. You wonder where they're getting their ideas from. I'll tell you, TikTok. No, we have the data. It's a fact. It's TikTok. Now, there are pro-Palestine protesters that are concerned about civilian deaths. I can respect that. But I got to tell you, in the United States, pro-Palestine protesters are attacking Jewish people, not Israelis. No. Now, there are certainly clashes between pro-Israel and pro-Palestine protesters that we know about. No. Quite literally, there are people that are pro-Palestine harassing and attacking people who are simply Jewish. Notably at Cooper Union, where Jewish students, Americans, not Israelis, were locked in a library. And the report is they were told they could hide in the attic. I kind of don't believe that one, because I'm not sure Cooper Union has an attic that is easily accessible in this way. But you get the point of the propaganda. Now, perhaps they were told they could hide in the attic. I don't know. It seems a little on the nose, if you ask me. They were already locked in a library as far leftists were screaming and banging on the door, free Palestine. And the question I'd ask all of you, and look, I get it. There's concerns over Israel's retaliation, the bombing of a refugee camp. You're not going to get any defense of that from me. Israel should not have done it. But now we're seeing this conflict become a component, or probably always was, in the culture war, which is leading, I think, a great example of what Elon Musk is talking about. And this could be an escalation into greater regional conflict, civil conflict in the United States, and hopefully not, but slim chance World War III. Everyone, World War III is like a buzz phrase or whatever, but with the escalations we're seeing in Israel, U.S. boots on the ground, we should consider the possibility of why we do not want to expand war. Let me first show you what Elon Musk said. And then I want to show you some examples of the far left cult and how they operate. We've got a video of a dude interviewing a pro-Palestinian activist, and the far left cultists come over and say, no interviews, no interviews. I love how they say that Donald Trump supporters are in a cult when Trump gets booed by his own rallies when he talks about the vaccine. And if you walk up to any Trump supporter and say, let's talk, they'll say, fine. Whereas on the left, they are terrified to criticize the establishment of, I should say, the established powers of the leftists, not the corporate establishment, neocon, neolib. And they don't give interviews. Nope, it's got to go through their hierarchy. That's right. Here's a story from the Post-Millennial. They report, in the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Elon Musk decried the current state of San Francisco and civilization at large, pinning the blame on the mind virus being spread far and wide by the woke left. The tech billionaire nonetheless urged people to have hope and continue fighting to right the ship. He basically said it's a zombie apocalypse, a philosophy that would ordinarily be quite niche and ideologically constrained so the fallout area would be limited, was effectively given an information weapon to propagate what is essentially a mind virus to the rest of Earth. Oh, yeah. I got another video for you guys later tonight where I'm going to roast some Gen Z ignorance. But and I'm not ragging on all of Gen Z. I'm saying it's a Gen Z person. I actually think Gen Z is a bit more based than millennials. Millennials are messed up. Take a look at this from Axios. On TikTok, views of pro-Palestine posts far surpass views of pro-Israel posts. Now, let's just approach this minimally. Meaning, the people are just saying Palestine needs support or Israel needs support. On TikTok, they said 87,000 posts for Palestine and 9,000 for Israel. That's like 9-1. When Elon Musk said the woke mind virus of Twitter, of San Francisco, was spreading through Twitter, he's right. And now you have TikTok, which is backed by China and is going to propagate pro-Chinese ideas. We recently learned that Chinese tech companies removed Israel from their map. Many people responded by saying, Palestine's not on the map. Like, in what way? Gaza and the West Bank are. And it says Israel because Israel is the country that is there. You can't just call it Palestine when there is a government in power called Israel. You get my point. If you search Google for Palestine, it will bring you to the West Bank and Gaza. But I digress. It's ridiculous arguments. The point is, China appears to be, at the governmental level, taking a more left approach to this. I should say leftist in view of pro-Palestine by removing the word Israel from the map, effectively saying it's a disputed region with no authority. On TikTok, this is what you get. Now, you could argue a couple things. One, young people are generally more pro-Palestine. That's why you see this. I disagree. I think it's generally true, but I'll tell you this. We got banned. Timcast IRL got banned from TikTok for no reason. None. There are many people who post way more egregious stuff than we do. We're fairly moderate, middle of the road, and they banned us. They didn't explain why. They just turned the account off. I think we may be back on TikTok. I think the way TikTok works, and I really don't care, is that when they ban your account, you can just make a new one. And I actually think that's the better way to do it. The idea that you as a human being are permanently banned is stupid. And you know, Ian Crossland talks about this, saying that you build them an account, you break the rules, the account is gone, but you as a person can create a new account. And then if you break the rules again, the account is gone. And that's the way it should be. You start over, you make a new account. They say, and this is October 16th, the 23rd. It was actually, they say, now I don't know what they're trying to say here. Stand with Palestine at 123,000 posts, but only 11 million views. And Stand with Israel at 8,000 and 12 million views. Fascinating. At this time, it is presumed that many people are concerned over what Hamas had done. So how is it that the views have skyrocketed for Stand with Palestine? That is the point, ladies and gentlemen. Despite there being more posts for Palestine, the views were substantially less. And then it would appear TikTok as a corporation intervened and boosted those views. And now you get it. Why is it that we have 16-year-olds in high school marching through the hallways chanting from the river to the sea? Well, let's talk about it. First, Israel should not have bombed a refugee camp, even if it's to target a commander. Don't care. The analogy I made early in the morning, that's like the guy who attacked your family is hiding in a crowd of civilians, so you start indiscriminately firing on the civilians. Yet you're going to prison if you do that. And I get it's war, and that was the point I was making, that you can justify whatever you want in war, but the winners are going to win. Like the winners are going to control the narrative, and you can't punish the people who have seized the power. My point is, it is not to just outright defend Israel, because Israel deserves criticism, absolutely. However, what does from the river to the sea mean? And I think there's a bunch of ways you can break it down. The first question would be, if the barriers around Gaza were removed and Israel told all of the people of Gaza they can freely move about all of Israel, what would happen? No question. Mass murder. There would be fights. There would be chaos. There would be shootings everywhere. Gazans would go back to territories they claim as their ancestral homelands, and they would start killing people. Or I should say, they would start conflicts. I think what we saw from Hamas exemplifies exactly what would happen. I do not believe Israelis would go into Gaza and start attacking Palestinians. That doesn't make sense. So, from the river to the sea, that's the River Jordan to the Mediterranean. They're saying it should be, Palestine will be free. So we got to break down first what they mean by that. Palestine will be free. They're saying, so what, all of the people of the West Bank and Gaza from the river to the sea will be able to freely move about the territory? Okay. We'll see conflict. I mean, this started with war. You had several wars, and it would likely be war again, especially if the argument is that settlers are not civilians and they're illegally occupying the land. That would then go to say that when these children are chanting from the river to the sea, they're saying the Jewish people who live there, and some for generations, should be removed. What do you do with them? You know what would happen? I got to tell you, the most, let's just say, accommodating view would be all of the Jews of Israel would be put in concentration camps. If you're calling Gaza an open air prison or concentration camp, that's what they would do to the Jewish citizens, that the Israeli citizens. And I say Jewish because there are Arab Israelis, and the argument from the left is that they're okay. And it's specifically the Jewish people. Okay, so it's the government and it's the people who are there. They're illegal settlers. There's no other explanation for what they could mean by this. They can try and take the light approach and be like, we're just saying equal rights for all, Palestinian and Arabic people in the region or whatever. Maybe if Hamas stopped firing rockets, sure, whatever. Why are high school students chanting this? It's because of TikTok, because of the algorithms that are being pushed. Now, I want to show you this video. And so it begins. This is the perfect example of what a cult is. And I'll explain, but please watch.
Muslim people are being attacked. It's not really, they try to show as a...
Yeah, we are.
We asked that nobody do interviews except for our press liaison.
No, I can interview whoever I like.
But why did you say, why is that?
We only want them to interview our press liaison.
No, I think I have freedom of speech. We can talk to any side. If he's okay with it, then I don't think you have any right?
Well, I don't know about rights. I just am asking you not to.
We've already asked the pro-Israel side. We just want to ask the pro-Palestine side. Don't you think we want to hear from both sides?
I just think as someone whose grandparents have been affected by all of this, I have every right to kind of voice.
We would ask to make sure that
Well, I'm sorry, but there's no obligation for me if I can do it or not.
No, it's just we ask that people who are.
That's okay if you ask, but is it okay if we continue? Can I ask if we can continue?
We are instructed not to.
Well, that's fine, but you guys don't have any right with that. So is it okay if we please continue?
You can continue somewhere else.
Why is that?
See, this guy doesn't get it. When they say we're asking that everyone just do interviews with our press liaison, they're not talking to the dude doing the interview. They're talking to the guy with the Palestinian flag. And he's saying, well, I can interview whoever I want. And they're like, yeah, we're telling him not to talk to you. Cult 101. How do you maintain a cult? Isolate. That is the first rule. In order to break someone from a cult, you have to remove them from the cult so they get exposed to other information. The internet can help with this in certain circumstances, but the problem with the internet is that it's hard to remove people from these cults. So here you have these facilitators, this woman in the neon vest with the obviously pro-Palestine, telling this guy who's pro-Palestine not to talk to this guy. Why? Tell him your ideas. Explain why you're there and what your views are. Because there are no morals. There are no ideas. It's a cult. The reason why the left doesn't want you doing interviews is because then they will be exposed for having no ideology. The press liaison speaks on behalf of everyone. And most of the people who show up to these events have no idea what they're protesting. My favorite story, and you've heard me say it, during Occupy Wall Street when they were chanting anticapitalista, anti-capitalist, and most of the protesters didn't know what they were saying. A few organizers would chant, anticapitalista. And then you'd have the majority of the general public who just showed up to this protest saying gibberish, antiga bida bista. They had no idea what they were saying. They were just going bada, 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 because they thought I have no idea what they're saying. When you interview these people, they look like morons. That's the point. It's a cult. The people who are there protesting in support, for the most part, have no idea what's going on or why they're supporting it. That's why we want to launch a game show. Our game show is, we can call it like Crossfire Trivia or something. Liberals versus conservatives. Libertarians versus authoritarians, whatever you want to do. And the idea would be to bring on anyone, prominent personalities, to play a trivia game show where we ask basic questions. Ask basic questions about history and politics. And then we see who won, left or right. Now, I'm willing to make a bet. I'm willing to bet that the right is going to get it right more often than the left. You grab a random dude. All right, here we go. You grab a random guy. And he's like, I'm a Trump supporter and conservative. You say, okay. You grab a random liberal. And then you say, okay, you're a liberal, you're conservative. We're going to do a trivia game show. Study up. What'll happen is the liberal will follow left-wing sources, which lie. And the conservative will get an eclectic view, which we see in the data. And then likely have a mixed bag, but probably closer to the truth. And then you'll ask a simple question like, Donald Trump famously referred to who as very fine people? And what is the liberal going to say? What is neo-Nazis? Well, we're not Jeopardy. So. And the other guy's going to be like, no, he was referring to the people who were protesting a statue being torn down. Ding, ding, ding. Correct answer. Wait, what? No. Joe, what do you mean? Like all the news reports say that's not true. Did you actually watch? That's the point. They don't know. That's why they're isolated. I got to be honest. I bet you would not get these people to even want to do the game show. To be fair, if it's like a regular game show, trivia questions, and we just ask people like the general premise is you answer trivia and politics and history, we'd probably get a bunch of self-identified liberals. And if we offered money, they'd come. And the Trump supporters are going to know more just offhand, off the top of their heads, than the liberals. But you take a look at this. This is how they maintain the cult. They refuse to let you get access. Now, here's my favorite. It's a cult, dude. From Daily Dot. Like a trap. Are posters of Israeli hostages drawing awareness or baiting pro-Palestinians into getting canceled when they tear them down? Just don't tear them down. What? Okay. This is hilarious. They're making the argument that people are putting up posters of the hostages kidnapped in Israel by Hamas to bait leftists into getting filmed and getting canceled. It's really easy. You just don't tear down the posters. So why do it? You see, cult members don't have logic. There's literally no reason to tear down a poster that says kidnapped. None. They're saying it's one-sided and it's propaganda and it's a poster of someone who got kidnapped. It's not advocating for anything other than don't kidnap civilians. The left needs to strip away any information that challenges their cult orthodoxy. So they will, of course, tear down these posters. And thus, they're being baited into tearing down. Just don't. You see, it's almost like, remember that It's Okay to Be White campaign where people put up those pieces of paper and then the left claimed it was racist? That was the point. The point was the reaction. A seemingly innocuous statement that just says it's okay to be white. They're not saying white is better or anything like that. And the media called it white supremacy and racist. That's the point. Imagine how your average white person feels when they are told saying that is racist. You're not even allowed to be okay feeling who you are. Yeah, that's the point. So the simple thing here is don't take the bait if it is bait. Now, the reality is I don't think this is bait. I think It's Okay to Be White was a troll campaign. These posters are being put up by people who are upset and they're demanding political action to save these hostages. They're angry about it. They're allowed to be. Hamas killed and captured civilians. Why? Targets of opportunity. That's what we're told. By people who support Palestine. And then these far leftists come and tear them down. And now the Daily Dot must defend them as they're being baited into getting canceled. Well, so be it. That's your problem, man. Here we go. Take a look at this. Aviva Klampus says the pro-murder, pro-kidnapping mob is targeting and harassing Jewish students at Harvard. Now, that's definitely a biased statement, calling them pro-murder or whatever. I'm going to make it simple for you. You have people who are pro-Palestine surrounding people who are just Jewish. Like, this is the issue that we see. Yo, Jewish people with a kippah, yarmulke, whatever, they're not Israeli. If your issue is with Israel, why are you targeting Jewish people in general? And then we get these people, we get these protests where it's like the Jewish community has come out in support of Palestine. Then why are they attacking random Jewish people? And they are. That's the point from the show. The kids at Cooper Union were not Israeli students. They were Americans, just so happen to be Jewish. And they get targeted. Look, it is, in my opinion, beyond a reasonable doubt. Elon Musk is correct. Social media in general is amplifying psychotic ideals. The solution is an eclectic view. But Twitter went from the free speech wing of the free speech party to banning people for misgendering. Because Jack Dorsey took the plumbing from his own toilet he built and stuck it down his throat and started guzzling down the refuse of all of the people that he put on this platform. And as he made the rules more and more favorable to the left for these reasons, it resulted in the culture wars getting further and further left. Here's what happens. Far leftists post death threats, advocacy for murder and violence, and got away with it. Conservatives got banned for saying learn to code because they kept bending the knee to their local politicians. The pressure they felt. I'll make it really simple for you. Democrat politician goes to Twitter and says, hey, we represent California and San Francisco, and we're going to raise your taxes unless you do what we want. And they go, done. This is why Washington, D.C. exists. There was fear that if Congress and the Capitol were in a single state, that state would have massive influence over the federal government, and it would, no question. Because if it was Maryland or Virginia, if it's Maryland, they'd go to D.C. and be like, we're not going to let you build that highway. You're in our state. Federal government doesn't have the authority. Unless, then all of a sudden, anything goes, whatever Maryland says, whatever Virginia says. So they said, no, we're carving out a special federal jurisdiction so there can be no undue influence. And that's what we're seeing now. Because Twitter was in San Francisco, local politics enshrined these policies, which then affected the rest of the country. And this is what we're seeing now. And that's why you have children chanting for from the river to the sea without knowing what it means or caring. And that's why they try to isolate you so you can't learn the truth. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.